Just like Da Vinci, I'm an elite procrastinator. I'm talking piles of socks under the bed for days before I finally take a minute to throw them in the washing machine. And that got me thinking, did procrastination actually exist back in the day? If yes, how did people deal with it? You already know the answer. Yes, procrastination is ancient. And that's when the idea hit me. Let's look at how some of history's most accomplished people like Leonardo da Vinci, Benjamin Franklin, Nikola Tesla, and even Socrates, dealt with procrastination. What was their approach, and how can I learn from that? Because honestly, I'm trying to stop being lazy. Everyone knows the Mona Lisa. That tiny looking miracle chilling in a massive room in the Louvre, surrounded by 100 tourists all elbowing each other for a blurry selfie with a woman who may or may not be smiling. Yeah, that one. Behind that mysterious smile is the mind of one of the history's most brilliant and yet most distracted humans, Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo was everything at once. He was a painter, inventor, scientist, anatomist, musician, and for the cherry on top, a world-class procrastinator. That masterpiece, the Mona Lisa, he took 16 years to finish it. And even then, it's not totally clear he ever thought it was done. He once said, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." That wasn't just a quote, that was his whole lifestyle. He left behind thousands of pages, random notes, half-finished sketches, wild inventions that looked like they came out of a steampunk fever dream. He'd start painting, then suddenly vanish to go dissect a corpse, sketch a bird, design a robot, then show up years later like, "Hey, remember that thing I started?" But here's the thing. Leonardo's procrastination wasn't really about avoiding work, it was curiosity in beast mode. You could call it ADHD. So what would Leonardo da Vinci tell you about procrastination? Probably something like, chase what excites you, wander off, explore, let your brain roam free, and trust that you'll come back to the work even stronger. Do I recommend that? It depends, but I think most of us don't really have 16 years to finish one task. So it's nice to roam around, it's nice to leave the task and come back later, but I would advise you to not do what Leonardo does. While Da Vinci was busy wandering through anatomy labs and painting half smiles over decades, Franklin was making lists. Inventor, statesman, founding father, guy who flew a kite into a thunderstorm just to prove a point. What made him exceptional wasn't just his intellect, it was his relentless self-discipline. He practically invented the to-do list. Literally, he tracked his time by the hour, woke up at 5 a.m. and asked himself, "What good shall I do this day?" His personal motto, "Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today." To Franklin, procrastination was not just a bad habit, it was a waste of human potential. So, how would he deal with procrastination? With rock-solid schedules, daily habits, and clear goals for every minute of the day. Because to him, freedom didn't come from avoiding structure, it came from mastering it. That was how he conquered indecision and built a life of purpose. As for me, structure is great, I'm all for it. But I'd still leave a little room for spontaneous moments. A walk with no destination, a random conversation, or a pizza at 2 a.m. Balance, right? A little Franklin with a dash of Da Vinci. Because life is in black and white, right? It's a spectrum, a canvas full of colors. There is never just one way to solve a problem. And Nikola Tesla, he picked his own color, his own solution, his own way to deal with procrastination. Born in 1856 in what is now Croatia, Tesla was the kind of person who didn't just work hard, he lived for his work. Electricity, wireless transmission, motors, radio, his ideas changed the world. He didn't chase fame or fortune, he chased insight, obsession, possibility. And his philosophy, be alone, that is the secret of invention. Tesla didn't give in to procrastination. He didn't even fight it with strict discipline either. He simply built a life where procrastination could not exist. No distractions, no noise, no parties, no small talk, no inbox, zero. Just pure focus, powered by solitude and purpose. So, if you ask Tesla for procrastination advice, he probably would not answer. He'd be too busy working on his next idea or writing 50 pages of notes in the middle of the night. But here is my take. It actually makes a lot of sense to take a moment for yourself, disconnect, step back from the buzz, be alone, not forever, but for a while. It's good for your mental health and good for that mountain of tasks waiting on your desk. Sometimes the best way forward is to sit in silence for a bit. So I did that. And while I was sitting in silence watching the birds in the sky, I asked myself a question. Why do I procrastinate? I mean, all this time we've been talking about how to deal with procrastination, schedules, focus, curiosity, obsession, but there is only one thing that we didn't discuss. Why do we actually procrastinate? Why would we delay a task that takes 30 minutes only to do something else that wastes 3 hours? That question would have fascinated our next historical figure, Socrates. Born in Athens around 470 BCE, Socrates was a philosopher, a teacher, and a guy who made everyone uncomfortable at dinner parties by asking way too many questions. He didn't write anything himself, but his student Plato made sure that the world never forgot him. And his famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Socrates wouldn't give you a productivity hack. He would not tell you just start or build a system. He'd tell you to pause and question your mind. Are you afraid of the task? Are you scared you'll fail? Do you think you're not good enough? What would make it interesting? What gives you purpose? What kind of life are you building? Socrates wouldn't tell you not to procrastinate, he'd help you understand why you do. And once you understand it, you can work around it or even through it. My take, I think it's powerful to question your actions, to sit with your thoughts and ask, why am I avoiding this? Why do I keep repeating certain patterns? What's going on in my mind that I haven't noticed? Because once you start getting those answers, you're not just solving procrastination, you're unlocking yourself. And always remember, you have one life, do not spend it stressing over every unchecked box. Live, laugh, love, and subscribe for more wisdom from the ancient and slightly nosy greats.